What's going on? Welcome in the final show that we have for you in the year 2025. And for a lot of us right now, today is Monday, January 37th or something like that. It is actually Tuesday, January 30th or December 30th. See, I already did it. Our final show of 2025. A lot of us are confused right now, but you're in the right place because if there is a show to steer you into the new year, it is without a absolute shadow of a doubt this one. We've got so much to talk about. We go into a week 18 in the NFL with a lot of stuff left to play for. We're knocking on the door of the first of 4 college football quarterfinal games. And we've got a couple other things to talk about. Some sports New Year's resolutions, some bowls that should be bowls that aren't bowls, not Todd Bowles because he sucks and his team's quit on him. We'll talk about that here in a little second. But we haven't talked to anybody since Christmas time other than, on the social channels at Mike Arana Show everywhere but Snapchat because we're not 12 and Snapchat sucks. I am upright for the first time in the last 5 days. Don't know how well this is going to go, so if I just randomly fall over in the middle of the show, we'll see what happens. I thought Christmas was going to be great for us. It started with a Turd Ferguson touchdown, and then it turned into a giant, slow-moving turd down a hill on the rest of our picks from there. We'll get to all that stuff in a minute. I'll start in the middle with the guy who is crazy enough to go out this morning in the high country of Arizona and play golf in ridiculously stupid temperatures. He is still alive. He is our one and our only, and trust me, tonight you are going to hear why we call him our one and only Vegas Mac. Vegas Mac, what's going on, my brother?
Listen, it wasn't all that bad. It got to be almost 40 degrees. I was,
that.
I had gloves for a good 8 or 9 holes, and then it warmed up. But listen, here's the thing. I had one of the best rounds that I've had in months. So, maybe like I told you, maybe I need it to be a little bit colder. If it was like maybe around 30, I could probably maybe shoot in the low 70s. It would be, maybe I'm just a cold weather player.
Maybe you are. I mean, some guys are cold weather players. We'll see who's a cold weather player this weekend because certain teams were not cold weather players last weekend. That's for damn sure. The guy on the right side of the screen is famous for these trips. That's where he was just about not even 24 hours ago last night. The Fortress in Las Vegas. And T, I won't ask you to give me your thoughts on the Knights because I know you're going to have some thoughts on the Knights on our social channels tomorrow. But how was the trip to Vegas? Up and back, bang, bang, thank you, get me back home.
I mean, okay, I'm going to leave the game for last because the drive is pretty easy. It's just a giant, it's like if you ever thought about racing the Indy 500, just make this drive between SoCal and Vegas, and that'll get it for you. You should be able to satisfy all those cravings because that is just a circus on wheels. But once you get there, I have to say this about Vegas: if you've never been to the Fortress, if you've never been to a game there, when they started building this rink, I'm like, what the hell are they doing building it there? You're not going to be able to get in and out. It's going to be absolutely the opposite. It is in the perfect place. They have every sort of pregame opportunity that you could ask for. They have every post-game opportunity that you could ask for. And midweek parking is pretty easy. There were no other real events because it's before New Year's Eve. The pregame inside the arena experience is great. The game, not so much with the game last night. That was pretty much a butt kicking. So I will have thoughts on the Golden Knights and some additional thoughts on the Minnesota Wild, who I was very impressed with last night.
Yeah, an interesting game there last night. I saw a hell of a game. Ironically, we're talking about when I make the trip to your neck of the woods to see the Sharks, and they were actually in your neck of the woods last night. Great game last night against Anaheim. We'll get into a little bit of stuff like that, but again, more thoughts on that tomorrow on the social channels. Vegas Mac will have another division tour for us. Where are we going into your hole on Friday this week, Mac?
We are going to be in the Metro hole, the Metropolitan hole.
Yeah. The Metro hole. So, I saw a stat today, guys, speaking of hockey here real quick, that literally blew my friggin' mind. And we've talked about how bad the New York Rangers have been this year, but and of course, I'm not going to be able to find it right now because the times that I've been awake are not normal for any human being right now. The Rangers essentially have been shut out in like over half of their time on the ice this year, which is damn near like the most ridiculous thing I've seen. We knew the Rangers were going to have kind of an overhaul of their kind of structure and everything with Sully coming in. They've been great on the road. They've been terrible at the Garden. But, it's been one of those things, and we've got some interesting games going on. Mac, your Hurricanes did not show up to play. They've taken an early New Year's Eve break tonight, getting blasted by the Penguins in the second period. I want to ask you guys, before we get into some more of these headlines here, as we sit here on New Year's Eve almost ahead of another winter classic in a stadium that hasn't opened the roof yet, and who knows if they will open the roof for Friday. We'll talk about that game on Friday. Matt, give me your highlight at this point, and then T, of the hockey season. What's the one thing that stood out to you in the hockey season so far to this point as we get ready to cross into 2026?
I think the one thing that stood out to me so far has been the play of Detroit. They've been really, really good. Atop the Atlantic, 49 points. This is a team that I think we all thought could maybe find their way into the playoffs. And because of the way the Atlantic is shaking out, not only could they find themselves in the playoffs, they could find themselves with some home ice.
T, what do you got from the NHL so far?
Yeah, I full on expect Detroit to be in the playoffs, Mac. You're totally right. It's Mac, and Mac. You mentioned it earlier in the season. It's McDavid, McKinnon, and Macklin Celebrini who are continued to set the league on absolute fire right now. And I think that contract extension that Connor McDavid signed really did put the Oilers on notice. And here they are in that 38 to 40 mark of the season, and they look like they're starting to get it together like they did last season. And if they get it together and they get the goaltending that they think that they have, that's going to be a scary team.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, I don't need to, you can call me a homer or whatever, but listen, if you're a San Jose Sharks fan, what you've been through over the last handful of years, I looked at it last night for the first time. I went, okay, let me take a look at the odds for this team to actually make the playoffs. They're about a plus 390, I think they were. I'm more interested in the race for the MVP. And I don't think Macklin Celebrini is going to get it done because of the season that McKinnon's having, also the season that McDavid's having. But the fact that he is as high as he is on that list, and it's not just Macklin Celebrini, it's Colin Graff, it's Will Smith. It was interesting last night watching the game against the Ducks that the Sharks were able to pull off, and they did an intermission break, and Drew Remenda and Randy Hahn were talking about one thing about Askarov that drives me friggin' crazy, but they put it into good context, and you guys will appreciate this. Askey's got real happy feet in the goal, and a lot of the time that can come back to bite him, and he's playing really well. I think he's living up to what Sharks fans were hoping he'd be. But they said it last night, and they were like, we had a goaltender here back in the day, Archer Zerbe, who had a lot of happy feet. And we showed him a video clip one night of, and I can't remember, I think it was Kelly Rudy. And it was Rudy saying, the less I touch the puck and play the puck, the better off I am. So I'm interested to see how that goes. But it's fun to watch hockey again. And I'll take that no matter what this team does for the rest of the year. I think we're set up for a hell of a second half of the season, or the new year of the season, if you will. Obviously, the Winter Olympic break is coming in. A lot of attention to that and stuff like that. Guys, I saw something on Christmas that I wasn't surprised to see. But when you really jumped into the stats and the nuts and bolts of this, and it's kind of ironic we're talking about this tonight, because last night, we avoided near disaster with Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets. Hyperextension to his knee, looked real bad. That would have been a horrible thing for the game of basketball. But if you went to bed early on Christmas and you didn't stay up to watch that Nuggets-Wolves game, you missed something I've never even thought I could see on a basketball court. 56 points, 16 rebounds, 15 assists from the Joker as they win in overtime, 142-138. There was 50 points scored in overtime of this game on Christmas night. Anthony Edwards dropped 44. And I really kind of dove into the numbers, guys, and I don't think anybody appreciates him for what he is. He is, we talk about Aaron Rodgers being the principal owner of the Chicago Bears all the time. Nikola Jokic is the principal owner of the Minnesota Timberwolves. This guy has a 60, 50, 30, and 20-point triple-double just against the Timberwolves in his career. I mean, that's mind-blowing. And then you dive deeper. Right now, he's averaging more points than Shaq ever did in a career. He's averaging more rebounds than Karl Malone's career high. He's averaging more assists than Jason Kidd's career high. I don't think we have enough appreciation, Mac, for how good Nikola Jokic is and what he's doing on a basketball floor right now.
I think part of the ability for them to score on Christmas was the uniforms. Those old school Nuggets uniforms are fantastic. So I'm all in that. It was funny. My son we were having dinner the other night, and he asked me, who's your top 5 basketball players of all time? And we went through that conversation. He goes, well, who's your top 5 right now? And it was one of those things without hesitation. I said, well, my number 1 player is Jokic. I mean, he is far and away, I think, the best player in the league. Again, I mean, I hate to say it, you sound whatever, but, I think the fact that he plays in Denver doesn't help him. I don't think they get the TV time that a lot of the other teams do, even though they've been a really good team. I just don't think they get the airtime that they do. And, his game isn't a flashy game. As a basketball fan, it is a pure basketball game. He does everything that you're supposed to do. He puts himself in the right spots. He truly understands the flow of the game. So he's not flashy. He's just the best player on the planet right now.
Yeah, absolutely. T. I mean, I don't have words anymore. I mean, this guy, every time he's on television, I absolutely have to watch him. Absolutely, without a doubt.
Just marvel at the way that he distributes the ball for a big guy. It's elite hands, elite passer, knows where, is thinking ahead of the game at all times. He is most definitely the most fun player to watch, just because you never know what he's going to do when he gets the ball. And he always seems to be, he's got like that Steph Curry clutch. Like when you need a basket, you can go to him and he's probably going to get it for you. But he's also got that ability to just pass the ball at any time. And it's uncanny how good he is right now. Uncanny.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And, it's one of those things. And again, I think as sports fans, whether you want to say it or not, it's you have to watch this guy play, and he's doing things that we haven't seen done on a basketball floor. A couple people checking in on the comments. At the top of the hour, we'll get into the college football quarterfinals. Towards the bottom of the hour, we'll get into a wacky Week 17 and kind of set the table. We are on Friday, lunchtime live. We'll get more into the Week 18 matchups on Friday's show. A couple of headlines here. Shy checking in, Bears fan. Yeah, we're going to talk about the Bears a lot here in a second. Herb and Raj checking in a little bit earlier there. A couple of baseball headlines, and this one's a little weird. D-backs general manager Mike Hazen expects Ketel Marte's situation to have a resolution, quote, shortly. And he was asked on Tuesday that while a trade of all-star second baseman remains unlikely, and speaking of Ketel Marte, a resolution is expected shortly. Hazen went on to say to MLB.com, I quote, I haven't figured that out yet, referring to an exact time frame on a resolution, but this isn't going to continue to linger. We need to focus on our offseason. Again, my gut this whole time was that a trade was not going to happen, and I think it seems unlikely. I think it seems likely that that's the case, and we want to focus on other things we need to do. This Ketel Marte situation, Mac, it started last year. Maybe some people in the clubhouse unhappy, maybe not. More people questioning from a national level why this guy wants the days off that he wants. It's a really weird situation for a team that's kind of in a weird situation here. I don't know what to make of his comments today. They don't really tell me a lot of anything. He does have a very user-friendly contract, 5 years, $91 million plus a 6-year player option. I don't think the Diamondbacks are going to trade him, but I don't think Mike Hazen made anything any clearer than mud today when he opened his mouth.
No, it's one of those things, you know, and we've seen it with a couple of players where teams are trying to, in essence, I think kind of check the market out is what they're trying to do and see what they can, whether that's for later this year at the trade deadline or even like next year. I don't really think that they were going to trade him at any point. I mean, not that Marte is not a good player. I mean, he is probably arguably one of the best second basemen in baseball, but the haul that you're asking for him is just tremendous. I mean, they want starting pitching. They want starting pitching that's ready now and probably a major league player to go. There's not a lot of teams that can afford to do that. So I think the Diamondbacks and there's a couple other teams that I feel have done this with players. They're putting them out there, but in reality, I don't really think that they're really wanting to trade them or we're going to trade them. They're just trying to see what the market is.
Yeah, T, it's a weird situation, all told, and I think Mac hits it perfectly on the head there. Everybody wants pitching. The problem is everybody wants pitching, and there's not enough to go around right now. Mm-hmm. Really kind of confusing situation for a team that's kind of in a confusing spot right now out here in Arizona.
Yeah, when it's like, what is this? What does this mean? What does this mean? Mm-hmm. And like, let's say that they get a bite on him and they. What's your plan? Now, what's your plan? You have his production to replace now. You're not going to replace that production with starting pitching. So what's your plan? You've got to have something in mind. And everybody, look, like you said, everybody wants starting pitching. And there's 30 other teams or 29 other teams that need starting pitching too. And they're allowed to go out and try and get starting pitching too. So, If they trade him, I would see something more along the lines of when they get to spring training to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of confusing things, and I can't wait to hear T's thoughts. I'll start with Mac on this one, but the Los Angeles Angels and Anthony Rendon, remember him? Yeah, not a lot of us do because we don't ever see him. This is per Alden Gonzalez of ESPN today. They've agreed to restructure the remainder of his contract, essentially ending the all-star third baseman's problematic tenure with the team. Scheduled to be paid $38 million in 2026, which is the final year of a 7-year, $245 million contract he signed after his great run with the Nationals that won the World Series in 2019. Rendon has agreed to spread those payments, because this is a thing that happens in the Los Angeles area, out over what a source described as, quote, a few years through the details of that payout that are not known publicly. Rendon and his representatives at the Boris Corporation have been in talks with the Angels about restructuring his deal since the early part of the offseason, off of the heels of a 2025 season that he lost entirely to hip surgery. Rendon's 35 years old. He's not going to, quote, officially declare retirement, but he's also not expected to play, shocking, in 2026. He's going to continue to occupy a roster spot for the Angels next season. The team obviously can place him on the 60-day injured list to free up space. Mac, this is, and I won't call it the worst contract in the history of sports because we know Deshaun Watson. We can name a bunch of these in here. Manny Machado's has not been very great for the Padres, but this has got to be one of the worst contracts in the history of Major League Baseball. And the fact that he's not declaring retirement while he won't be with the team who's still paying him and occupying a roster spot is just the disaster that is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Orange County, Disneyland, and the Matterhorn.
I said it before. I'm going to say it again. Two things. If you can't play, then retire, and don't take a spot on a roster if you're not going to play. Second, if I'm the Angels, and I said this before, here's what I would do. You don't want to retire? That's fine. Report to spring training, and we'll send you down T. I don't know what the Angels A or double A team is, but put them on an A roster or double A roster, and you can go down and play in the minor leagues. That way, that's where he is. Quite honestly, that's what I would do. Either you play or you don't play, and if you don't play, then I don't know all the legalese of it, but there's got to be a way that they don't have to take up a roster spot for somebody who's not going to do anything for them.
This guy has 125 RBIs with the Angels. That means he got nearly $2 million per RBI in his career. Send him somewhere. I don't care where it is. Send him to Robidaw Island. I'll pack his bags for him. I will drive the truck right into the ocean. Okay, so all kidding aside, he was the best third baseman on the market at the time. I don't fault the Angels for the signing. It was a great signing at the time. Coming off his age 29 season, wins the World Series. They need corner infield help. So I don't criticize the effort. But when this thing started going south, instead of doubling down, you should have paid him to go away. Just pay him to go away. That's something that happens in baseball. Matt Williams got paid to go away. So they should have just paid him to go away. Here's your check. Good night. Go do whatever. Go sign with the Dodgers and be an all-star, whatever. My whole thing with the Angels in this process was once it went sideways, they stayed in the sinking ship instead of letting it go.
Yeah, and I think especially coming from somebody who is a fan of the Angels, I don't think you can say it any better. Again, top of the hour, just a couple minutes here. We'll get into the college football playoff quarterfinals that begin tomorrow night with the Cotton Bowl from Dallas. I have a guarantee in the Cotton Bowl, as well as the other games that we'll talk about. A couple of NFL news and notes to pass along, and obviously we don't like talking about anything like this, so we're going to give you the facts of this point blank and what we know and what's being said right now, because there very well could be a huge impact in the NFL playoff picture with this. But New England Patriots wide receiver, if you haven't seen it today, Stephon Diggs is facing felony charge of strangulation and misdemeanor charges of assault from an alleged incident on December 2nd. A motion hearing took place Tuesday morning in the Massachusetts District Court. Easy for you to say. Arraignment scheduled for January 23rd, which is the Friday before the AFC Championship game. This is obviously not a distraction that Mike Vrabel and the Patriots need at this time. We're not going to get into the hypotheticals here. We don't know all the stories, but this is not something that Vrabel's Patriots really want or need at this time, and could have a very significant impact on what happens going forward. So something to keep an eye on in that situation there. There is another Diggs in the news today, and that is Trayvon Diggs of the Dallas Cowboys, who was released. The two-time Pro Bowler was today, and this is an interesting one for me as well, guys, because if you pick up Trayvon Diggs going into the postseason, if you need help in your secondary, we're talking about a Pro Bowl level player, hasn't had the greatest year. It's only going to cost you about $530K to pick him up and have him active for Week 18. As far as the nuts and bolts of what happens as far as playoff money goes, that remains to be seen. But it's a guy that could probably help a few of these teams that are in playoff position already, and maybe some of these teams that are fighting. I'm interested to see if anybody picks him up, because there's definitely some teams, Mac, that need help in the secondary as we go to the postseason, even if he's nothing more than just a veteran body in there that can provide some leadership and maybe spell you on a second down, third down. It's obviously tough late in the year to get a guy acclimated to your system there, but this is a guy who is a playmaker if somebody wants to take a run at him.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of weird, like you said, with 1 week left in the season to to see this happen. But you're right. I mean, if you're a playoff team, if you know you're a playoff team, or I don't really think he would be much help. Obviously, this week, I think this has got to be for somebody who is a playoff team. If you feel you need a little bit of depth, I mean, we're talking about pennies for the most part to pick them up. I shouldn't say pennies. Pennies don't exist anymore. Nickels, just nickels is all it is. I mean, this would be a good pickup for somebody who's in the playoffs. Like you said, you know from the last couple of years, I mean, weird things happen in the playoffs. People get injured in the playoffs, running onto the field, as you've seen with some of the 49ers in the past. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen. So it's like one of those things, you can never have enough good players on a playoff football team.
Yeah, I would if I'm a team just to have an extra body. You never know when you're going to need it, especially with the way that players have seemingly gone down in the last 4 weeks. For the amount of money that would cost, I think that's a very low risk, very potentially high reward scenario.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening there, and we will keep an eye on that because I would assume if somebody's going to do it, we're going to find out before we get to Friday's show when we're talking specifically about Week 18. Bowl game season, again, we're going to have some bowls that should be bowls and some thoughts on some bowls that should be bowls. There is a good one going on right now in the Liberty Mutual Music City Bowl, Tennessee and Illinois. This game started off at a stinking boring clip. It's 28-27 right now. Illinois has 3rd and goal from the Tennessee 10 with 1:22 left in the game. So we'll keep you posted there. We're also going to update you on the 12 days of Bowls miss that we're coming to a close here and having a great finish. But let's talk about the college football playoff quarterfinals. And guys, this is going to be new for us. We've never done this. I'm going to go a little out of order here. And there's a caveat to this. I didn't want to be blamed for anything that could potentially happen in the Rose Bowl. So knowing how superstitious this guy is, there's our first 4 locks of all time. We brought him on the last time before the Oklahoma game, and Alabama won. And if Alabama loses the Rose Bowl, I didn't want it to be blamed on us. Herb checks in from the Herb and Raj podcast. What's going on, my brother?
As always, Mike, you are the smartest man in the room. That was a good call by you. Yes, we find ways to blame whoever when there's a loss. Anything other than maybe the players on the field or the coaches, we'll find the other ways when you're fans. So
how was the Christmas time in the Ragsdale house? I saw a good picture of you that I should have done a better job at prepping for the show and had up here, but apparently you're the better Ragsdale according to T-shirts in the house.
I am the better Ragsdale. It helps when you print your own T-shirts, so then you can bring up your own mottos. But yes.
Somebody saw Herb on the show and they're like, "Holy shit, Herb's on the show!"
But yes, I am the better Rags. Also, Raj and I were in 2 fantasy football leagues, and I won both of those. So he's really going to hear about it tomorrow night. So it could be a fun
Vegas
show.
Mac, you missed him last time we had him on, so I'll let you start with the questions here for our Alabama insider as far as we look into this Rose Bowl, which is coming up on New Year's Day, which is, for a lot of us that forget what day of the week it is, that is Thursday in the middle of the day. Fire away, Vegas Mac.
All right. Well, first off, how was I understand you went to a bowl game just the other day, right? Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yesterday, actually.
Did you get to play a song? Mike was telling me that some people got to play a song. Did you get to play or pick a song?
I didn't get an interception or a touchdown, so I was not one of the fortunate ones. And Big Mike actually pointed out the kickers didn't get to whenever they hit a field goal. So I feel like it was a little unfair in that game. But no, I didn't get to play a song. I would have picked something outrageous, though. You'd either heard a great country song or Hold On by Wilson Phillips. Like, that's what I would have played. Everybody's like, what is going on? That would have been my choice.
All right. Well, let's get started. Let's talk about this one. Alabama against number 1 Indiana. It's interesting to me. I was looking at really all of these teams that we have in the quarterfinals, and I was kind of putting like a little map together. And for me on my map for Indiana, I kind of have Indiana as far as this whole season, kind of at this even keel. That's how I kind of feel how Indiana is. I don't know that Indiana's gotten a lot better or a lot worse. They've just been kind of really good. But when I went to think about Alabama, it was like this, up and down and up and down. And I mean, I think that kind of reflects how Alabama has been this year. We really don't know what we're going to get from Alabama. Although there is one thing that I am concerned in going into this game. Alabama has struggled running the ball. And this Indiana team is really good at stopping the run. How is Alabama going to overcome that aspect of the game?
I mean, they're probably not, just to be honest. We'll do some cursory runs, and then we are very quick to give up on the run game. So I think maybe some creativity. Now, look, Ohio State didn't have that much success, but they still ran their lead back 17 times. So what I would like to see is them still go ahead and try to pound it in there. Before the year that the offensive line was one of the most highly regarded in the country, you have to think they can get some kind of push. But what I think is, we'll have one of our backs maybe go 60, 70 yards. So it won't look great, but it will at least take some pressure off Ty Simpson passing wise. But, it's the little meme, though, to be honest. It's, hey, can't stop your running game if you have no running game.
There you go.
I think that's the Alabama approach to it. So, and it's become a real narrative for everyone, but they still went on the road at Georgia and won without having a running game. So it's still capable with this team, but I just think we can't give up on it as soon. I don't think we're going to have 100, 150 yard, back, but at least we got to get double-digit carries. That's what we didn't do against Georgia in the SEC championship game. I think we had 7 between our 2 running backs.
So how do they contain Mendoza and that offense though? Because when that offense when it gets rolling, we've seen the big numbers that it can put up. But that being said, they only put up 13 against Ohio State. So there's got to be a way. There is a way to contain the offense. What do you see Alabama trying to do to make that happen?
I think making adjustments quicker. I think we were a little slower against Oklahoma, but you look at the best game, the best teams so what Indiana was really good was piling up points against, bad teams. So you'll see a 66-0 against Purdue, but you go look at like Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, and I'm missing one in there. There were teams that were able to, Oregon. Yes, sir. Yeah, Oregon. They were able to at least contain him. So it's not going to be all world. I think you have to contain the running game first, actually, so they don't look as balanced and maybe put more on him. And then you just have to get pressure on him, which getting LT Overton back helps. But while he was gone, we saw a bunch of young guys step up in that measure. So I think that we're deeper at pass rush than people might think right now. And maybe the numbers from the beginning of the season. Look, it's a hallmark of a Womack defense. It seems like he's only been here 2 years, and both years defense starts off slow and gets better as we go along, and we have more depth pieces. And look, sometimes getting all these freshmen in here and younger players has helped. So I think getting pressure on him and kind of containing the running game is 2 of our keys.
Herb, it's one of those interesting things, and you know what I'm going to ask you, because it's always my favorite thing to ask, and especially when we have somebody that's as plugged in as you and Raj are to the Tide here. If you're going to give me an X factor in this Rose Bowl, who is it for the Tide that makes the biggest difference for them?
So it's interesting you asked that one right now, though. So we're following our little plan and our shorts that we're putting out, right? The next short that I put out as soon as I get off of here is bold prediction for the game. And so it will be all right. And I have decided to double down on Ryan Williams over 100 yards in this game. Much maligned, leads the league or leads the whole country in drops, right? Targets are going down every game. But you see, if Indiana is susceptible anywhere, it's big plays. And I'm not going to compare Ryan Williams to Jeremiah Smith. I think that train has left. But he hit him for 144, in the Big Ten championship game. You can get big plays. And if we have a really true – look, he's not our number one anymore. Jeremy Bernard's the number one. I'd argue Josh Cuevas is either number 1 or number 2. But he is still your best big play receiver. And just had the question this week, hey, are you transferring? No, man, I'm Alabama for life. Whatever. I would just love to see it. So I'm going to go in either looking like, a genius or a fool. But I'm going to double down on Ryan Williams over 100 yards in this game as our X factor. And if I'm wrong, we delete this clip. So
who are you? How did you get on the screen?
For me, this game is really for me about the quarterbacks, and a couple of reasons. And a couple of reasons why. Alabama doesn't get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. They've been rolling a lot of their coverages, and that's a lot of the things that Indiana does as well. Both these quarterbacks, who, by the way, could end up being the first couple of picks in the draft. I mean, they're both that good. For me, this is going to come down to which quarterback is able to figure out the looks And both these teams are really, really good at disguising what they do pre-snap to post-snap.
Right.
And so which one of these quarterbacks can figure that out first? To me, that's going to be the big thing in this game. Alabama has thrived this year with one thing, and that's getting the turnovers when they've needed to get the turnovers. So if they can force Mendoza to create turnover, I think that's going to be big for Alabama. But that's one of the key things for that the Hoosiers have done. They're just a steady team. I mentioned this is kind of how they've been all year. That's because they don't make a lot of mistakes. So for me, Herb, this game really is about the quarterbacks.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's like you've stolen all of our videos from the day.
Sorry,
that was another one of those. No, my thing that what should Alabama fans be most scared of from Indiana? I know everybody wants to hear quarterbacks and defense, blah blah blah. I said they don't make mistakes. You know, they only had one game this year where they had 2 turnovers in the game, and they won that game by 50. So it still didn't matter. And here's a nice little trivia question for you. Can you name the 2 players that had the turnover in that game? They've only had 2 games where they didn't force a turnover, and one of those games they won by 73. So maybe it was just a mercy sort of thing. So, and there's a reason why I asked that question, because there is a path to getting the answer. But to your point, Vegas Mac, yes, they don't make a lot of mistakes. They don't have a lot of turnovers. But if you can get to Mendoza, you know, he had one in the Big Ten championship game. That was a tight game. You can get pressure on him, you've got a chance. But no, heady player, you know, Heisman Trophy winner, as steady as they come. And when you have a good defense, you don't really force a lot of things. And I think that's one thing that he does. He's okay with punting and living another day.
Your boy Connor Talty he was perfect against Oklahoma. I love that.
Talty.
But this field has a potential on Thursday to be very wet. Yes. Because of the rain that's coming down here. So what do you think that will help Alabama stop Indiana, or do you think that like, how do you see a potential weather situation affecting Alabama in this game?
Honestly, I think it comes down to play calling. You know, it was wet in Florida State, you know, and then it really hit towards halftime. But our first drive was a really balanced drive, and it still went well. And then all of a sudden we just said, all right, we're not running anymore because we think they're going to stop it. And the game kind of went sideways. But I think the team is still ready for that. I feel like rain, it's funny. I feel like rain is more of a southern thing than a northern thing anyway. Like if you told me it was snowing, I'd be like, oh, crap. But if you're like raining, well, okay, that's, you know, like every other Saturday here. So I'm not as worried about that. And you brought up Talty. Look, we talk about guys bouncing back. Bray Hubbard in the first game everybody was on him and he bounced back from then. This man got booed at home during a cupcake game and has been perfect since. So I think he'll be ready, and I think the team will be ready for the elements as well.
All right, I know you got to get up on out of here, so you know you're not going to get out of here without making a pick, and I'm pretty sure which side you're going to go on. Give us your pick, and then why don't you tell our people where they can watch you guys to finish out this week?
All right. First, I'm going to give you my trivia answer. It was 2 interceptions against UCLA. It was by both of the Mendoza brothers. Each one of them threw an interception. So that's a wild stat to me. That's only 2 turnover game. I went 24-20 Alabama. You know, with Talty. My original one, I think I had 23-20 with Talty kicking the extra, you know, game-winning field goal. But now I've talked myself into 2 Daniel Hill touchdowns and 1 from Ryan Williams. So now I've got to get 21, and I want a little bit of – I don't want to be, you know, having a heart attack at the end of the game. So I'm going to go 24-20 just for that purpose. And what's the other part? Oh, it's where we are. So we will be on tomorrow night, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central Time, which I guess for you, Mike, is like, I don't know, 5:30. I don't know how the times translate.
Yeah, we're not doing all that mess right now.
We will be live streaming during Miami, Ohio State, and we will be breaking down all of the Thursday games as well as the Alabama game. But you can catch your Herb and Raj podcast. Go check us out. We've got plenty of content coming out between now and then, and the day of the game as well. And if we can convince Raj to jump on sometime during the game Thursday, we'll be on. But that's dictated by the score, not by anybody else. So
it should be. Well, we appreciate you. I know you're hoping that you check in with us at least 2 more times this football season. But I didn't want to get
Yes,
blamed.
sir.
Your people, your audience has
I
been
appreciate
very,
it.
very courteous to us, very welcoming to us, and we appreciate that. So now we are free and clear from any blame, potentially, depending on what happens in the game. We
Yes, sir. I
appreciate you guys.
Man,
Happy
Thanks,
New
sir.
Year.
Happy New Year.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys.
All right. There you go, boys. Another surprise. See, I'm full of surprises for you, but
Man.
now it's time for us. It's prediction time, and I'll get us started in T. I think you brought up something that I'm very much paying attention to in this game, and we know the weather in SoCal has been pretty nasty, and it's expected to be nasty. And there's 2 things that jump off the page to me. Number one, and Herb talked about it, the lack of presence in an Alabama running game. The other thing is Alabama's defense, as great as they played against Oklahoma and as great as they've played down the stretch of the season, it's also a team that doesn't tackle very well, and that has me greatly concerned in this one. So I'll drop mine first, then Mac, then T. I locked this one in early. It is moved to -7 now. I got Indiana -6.5. I think the lack of a running game and the questions of which Ryan Williams show up, I've got Indiana -6.5. Vegas Mac, it's on you.
One of the things about Indiana that I'm a little worried about is that they're going to be playing for the first time all year without Stephen Daly, who got hurt in the celebration. I think that could hurt Indiana a little bit. But I'm going to kind of I'm going the same way. I don't think that you can win at this elite level with just being one-dimensional. And to me, Alabama is just a little too one-dimensional for me. I mentioned kind of up and down. I like Indiana in this game, minus the 6.5 points.
TJ.
I'm just hoping that Alabama decides to start playing before they spot Indiana 17 points, because if they get down early like they did to Oklahoma, this game's going to be quick. And it can rain, it could snow, it could be 100 degrees. It's not going to matter. They have to have a better start. And I think that this is an opportunity for them against a high-profile opponent to have a little bit better start. I'm going the other direction. I'm taking Alabama plus the 7 here because I think that they're going to come out. And I look at the fact that Indiana has not played a football game in 26 days, and I think that's a huge issue.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that think that, and we've talked about it a couple of times, these teams that had the buys last year, whether it's fundamentally right or wrong, I think we've pretty much nailed that nail as far down as you can. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Let's stay on that breath, and we'll get to the Cotton Bowl last year since it's going to be the closest game to starting. Let's go to the Orange Bowl, which is an interesting one, and I can't wait to see it because I've been waiting a long time for this game, and that puts us at, clicking too many. I was so intimidated by having Herb on here. I had all the wrong things clicked. The Orange Bowl, which is the first game on New Year's Day from Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. It gives us number 5, Oregon, number 4, Texas Tech. Oregon, 2.5-point favorites. Your total on this one, 51.5. And I think this is the game of all the games. And maybe you guys aren't on the same page, but for me, this is the one I can't wait to see because I've talked about this all year. At the beginning of the year when we did our predictions, I predicted based on what we've seen out of my guy Dan Lanning and the Ducks, 3 losses, 2 losses, 1 losses. I thought this year maybe they would go undefeated. Clearly that's not going to happen here. But I think this Oregon team has really learned something from what happened to them last year in having that bye and then getting their doors absolutely blown off by Ohio State in this game. Mac, first thoughts, Oregon and Texas Tech. I can't wait to see it.
I was going to say the one thing about all of these bowl games of these quarterfinals is they're really different. These matchups are really different for me in all of them. I feel as though I have been on a Texas Tech train from the opening drop as well. This is one of those things that I really like what they did in the off season. It's the one game I got to go see. I mean, actually physically got to go see them play this year. I agree though. This is when you see a spread that comes out a point and a half. You know that Vegas doesn't know who's going to win this game. There's a lot to break down in this one.
T, first thoughts. Ducks and Raiders.
Well, this
Not
is
those Raiders.
The Ducks would probably have a really good chance. This is the game I think that everybody wants to see. Sorry to the SEC and Mississippi and Georgia, but this is the game that everybody wants to see because it's been the same thing for the Ducks the past several seasons where you're always the bridesmaid and never the bride. Like, when are you going to get it done? Meanwhile, this Texas Tech team, other than the ASU game, has completely blown the doors off of every opponent that they have played. So it's going to be one of those games, and I don't think enough people are paying. We look at this number on the total at 51 or 52 and a half, but I don't think a lot of people are paying attention. These are two really good defensive teams.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where this game ultimately is going to come down. We talk about what Texas Tech can do, and obviously, as we saw today, Baron Morton is completely out of the walking boot, expected to be at 100%, dealing with that hairline fracture all year. And you know, I think these two teams, I think the other intrigue to it for me before we get to predictions is the fact that these are the two teams that have really understood the new model of college football and how to be successful in that space. I think the biggest question for Oregon is a question that they've had for a while. Whether he plays or whether he doesn't is a big deal, but Oregon's been able to do it without DeCorey Moore. If he's on the field, that opens up a whole nother level for Oregon and their offense here. I think you nailed it there. And when I look at this, I look at Oregon and we talk about the flash and the different uniform combinations and the high flying and Dante Moore and all of that. So let's not kick the can down the road anymore here, guys. Some prediction time, and I'll get us started. I think Oregon's defense and the way that the middle of their defense plays is going to give Texas Tech a lot of problems here. Oregon does a better job at limiting the penalties, I think. And again, I think there can't be a limit put on the experience that this Oregon staff had last year and what they learned from what happened. I love what Texas Tech is doing. I think Texas Tech and Cody Campbell leading the fundraising for Texas Tech, and hopefully a lot more of the fundraising and the way college football is laid out going forward. I think Oregon's defense is the difference here. I actually alt-lined this one. I had an interesting play for all four of these games. I took Oregon on the money line. I'm also playing Oregon to win this game by a touchdown here. I think the Ducks defense, Mac, is too much for the Red Raiders.
You brought up a couple of interesting things. You talked about the Oregon staff, and they're losing some of their coaches at the end of the season. I think that's a big deal. I really do. And I've heard it a lot, and it's been said a lot, and I'm going to say it again. You can't be committed 100% to what you're doing when you've got another foot in another place. I think that hurts Oregon a little bit. And looking at this is one thing that stood out to me with Dante Moore, and they talk about how quickly he gets rid of the ball, 2.5 seconds or less. He's number 6 in the country at getting rid of the ball in that quick amount of time. However, he's playing against a Texas Tech defense that has the most pressures and sacks in under 2.5 seconds. T, you know who the number one team is. That's your Miami Hurricanes. We'll get to them in a little bit. But this is a Texas Tech defense that is really, really good. People are running the narrative that, and I disagree with this, but they're running the narrative that this is a Big 12 team. They've played just a Big 12 schedule. They haven't gone outside of that. And so I guess we're really going to see what the Big 12 is made up of. I know T and I love that conference. We've said it all year. I think this game is going to be really, really close. I think the difference actually is going to be the defense. I think you're right, Mike, but I think it's the Texas Tech defense that's going to make the difference in this game. I like Texas Tech in this game. I would play at Texas Tech, and I take the over in this game as well.
Mac, you mentioned that you saw this team play in person, and I absolutely was horrified at the way that Texas Tech handled the last 3 to 4 minutes of that game. And I hope they learned something from that, because that was the only close game that they were involved in this year. Everything else has been a blowout. And so I'm hoping that Texas Tech learned a lesson from that. I like Oregon on this one, though. I'm taking Oregon minus the points.
All right, there we go. Let's go to the Sugar Bowl. Georgia and Ole Miss. I have waited for 2 weeks to have this friggin' I saw it before we started the show, you turkey. I could see it from a mile away. Or Ole Miss, number 6, and Georgia, number 3 from the Superdome. Georgia 6.5-point favorites. Your over/under total on this one is 55.5. And first look at this game, I think it's obvious. It's the 1-2 punch for Ole Miss of Trinidad Chambliss and Winidad Chambliss, if you will, and Kewan Lacey and that duo. This Georgia defense, this Georgia team, I think, again, you're talking about another team here that had the experience last year of having a bye and how to handle that and how to go forward. Obviously, there's a ton going on with Ole Miss. I think this game is fascinating, but I think this game could be the one game that turns ugly of all the games in this position here. I know you guys have been on this Ole Miss sympathy train, and I'm going to call it that, and I'm going to start with Mac in the middle. Mr. randomly has an Ole Miss shirt behind him conveniently. First thoughts, Rebels and Dogs.
Hey, remember, this is a game that Ole Miss should have won. They should have beat. This is the one rematch of all of these games. This is a game they had a lead late in the fourth quarter, and they should have closed this thing out, and they weren't able to do so. So Ole Miss has to feel that they can play with this Georgia team. Like I said, it's a game they probably should have won. So that's my initial thought, is that, you did a video last week about Aaron Rodgers being the most dangerous person in the NFL. I think Trinidad Chambliss is the ultimate wild card in this game. If he gets going, that brings and puts Ole Miss at a completely different level in this game.
Take your first thoughts, Rebels and Dogs.
As much as we're on this sympathy train, I mean, they still have to play the games and they still have to win the games. And so if Chambliss gets frustrated by this stout Georgia D, that could, like you guys both mentioned, this could turn into a very long day for Mississippi very quick.
Yeah, and it's funny, guys, because we just talked with Herb and gave our thoughts on the Rose Bowl. And the one thing that concerns me with Alabama's stance in the Rose Bowl is their ability to actually functionally tackle at times. You get the complete opposite with this Georgia defense here. It's a defense that doesn't miss tackles a lot. Nope. And I think what's being very underrated going into this game as we go into prediction time for the Sugar Bowl is Georgia's run game against Ole Miss's defense, which I think is more of the matchup here. I have one play that I like. I can't make it here in Arizona because it's not something that we can bet legally here in Arizona. I love the Georgia team total in this game, over 30.5. You guys already know I'm on Georgia to win the national championship. I was sold on that when I saw them play in the SEC title game here. I've got Georgia, I think, comfortably covering the 6.5 here. And I also would double down at this point, or if you haven't, Georgia's still 6-1 to win the national championship, I think is a great bet. I got the Dogs minus 6.5. Vegas Mac.
This is a different Georgia team than Ole Miss saw, a few weeks ago when they played. The thing about the Georgia defense is they don't have to be perfect in this game. We talk so much in these games about, I think, like, for Ole Miss to win this game, I think they do have to play a perfect game. I don't think Georgia's, especially from a defensive standpoint, has to be perfect to win this game. Again, this is not going to surprise anybody. It's kind of what I just said. You're dealing with an Ole Miss team that, from a structural standpoint, is in disarray. They don't have their head coach. They don't have some of their other coaches. And listen, we know the Georgia staff is intact as far as we know, and nobody's leaving. And Kirby Smart does a great job. It's hard to look past Georgia with all of those things in there. So I'm taking Georgia in this game. I like the over in this game as well. I think this is going to be a game where we can see a lot of points scored. We saw it the first time. I don't think it's going to be any different in this one. Again, I will just say the X factor though is to see how Chambliss plays. You know, I think this is one of those games where if Ole Miss were to win, it's going to be because Chambliss has one of these just ridiculous offensive games.
Well, it's going to need to be ridiculous because I love what Gunnar Stockton is going to bring to this game. This guy is, he's like it seems like he's been at another level for the last several weeks. I'm with you, dude. I'm taking Georgia minus the points. As much as I want to see Mississippi stick it to Lane Kiffin, and I think they have in a way, but I think the ride ends.
All right, about less than 10 minutes from now, we'll get into the NFL. We've got some bowl games that should be bowl games, but that leaves us to tomorrow night. And I told you I had a guarantee for the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, as we see Miami take on Ohio State. That's your 10-2 matchup. The Buckeyes favored by 9.5. Your over-under total on this game, I think not surprisingly, is 40.5. This game has all the potential to be an absolute rock fight. But the one thing I will guarantee you in this game, I said it last week, it's going to happen. Michael Irvin is going to act like a compulsive jackass on the sideline during this entire game, especially with it being in AT&T Stadium in Texas. I will remind you once again, Michael Irvin, your passion is one thing. This game is not about you. I swear I do not need to see you barking like a dog on your hands and knees up and down the sidelines. These are two very, very good defensive football teams, and let's leave the game to that. Now, as far as first thoughts on this game go, again, guys, I think that the general consensus when I look at this matchup is obviously a long layoff for Ohio State. The last time we saw them, they lost the Big Ten title game to the number 1 seeded Indiana team. Questions of whether or not Ohio State was like fully in on that game or if they were just playing out the string, who knows? But either way, we're here, and this will be an interesting one. 9 points is this number right now, 9.5, as far as we're talking right now. 40.5, interesting number here. Two great defensive teams, and I don't think you can say enough about the job that Corey Heatherman's done, the defensive coordinator for Miami, ranking in the top 15 in damn near every defensive category. It's the best pass rush in the nation, top coverage unit, primarily cover 3. Which is going to be interesting to see how Julian Sayin and the Bucs handle this here. First thoughts, start in the middle. Vegas Mac, Bucs, and Canes. What's the first thing that jumps out to you?
Remember, let's flash back just a year ago. Like you said, Ohio State loses their last game that they play to Michigan. This year, the last game that Ohio State played, they've lost to Indiana. Is that a secret formula that we don't know about? Is that exactly what Ohio State wanted? Remember, that launched them to a national championship. Is that going to be a repeat? Is they going to, rinse, repeat? Again, we lost our last game. Like you said, were they focused? Were they not? Who knows? Is this going to be that kind of rubber band moment that they use to now exploit and become national champions back to back?
This defensive matchup is what I'm looking forward to the most because Ohio State has brought it the entire season, and Miami. I mean, Ruben Payne has been my guy all season long. So I'm excited to see. This is a huge challenge for Miami, man. Carson Beck cannot have any of those "what the hell just happened" moments against this defense. He just can't.
Yeah, and that's, I think, where I get stuck on this game. The number is not very comfortable to me at the plus 9.5 right now if you wanted to go on the Miami side. I think this game is going to be the literal definition of a giant friggin' rock fight here. But when it comes down to it for me, prediction time again for us. When it comes down to it for me, I don't think Miami has the offense to score on the Ohio State defense. Can the Ohio State offense score on the Miami defense? I think so. And I think their ability to run the ball on the early downs and not put Julian Sayin into a, oh shit, the ears are pinned back kind of situation here is the key. Now, I jumped on this one a couple of days ago, bet it under 42.5. I think that was the play that jumped off the table to me the most. I am not touching the spread in this game, but I don't think, to close it out from me, Miami does not have the offense to beat Ohio State, and that's the problem. So if Miami doesn't get a defensive touchdown, I do think Ohio State can cover the number. I played it under 42.5. I still kind of like it under 40.5. Mac?
If Miami is going to win this game, it's got to be a low scoring game. They've got to they just got to grind it out from a defensive standpoint. Do they have a chance to do that? Well, if you look at Ohio State, the two defenses that they played that were really good this year were Texas and Indiana, and they scored 14 points in one of those games and 10 in another. So they've struggled against really good defensive teams. So here's the other thing that we need to be thinking about in this game is that Brian Hartley, he's not calling the plays. Day's the one who's calling the plays, and he hasn't called plays in a couple of years. So that's going to be interesting to see if their offense looks a little bit different from that perspective. But here's the thing. Do you trust Carson Beck? I guess that's what it comes down to. Do you trust Carson Beck? This is a Miami team that makes a lot of mistakes. And as good as they are defensively, I think that's going to be the bigger issue. This Ohio State defense, I hate to say that they're underrated, but man, they kind of a little bit underrated this year. This is as good a defense as any out there. I just think they're going to force Carson Beck into a lot of mistakes. This is Miami's not a great offensive team. I think, you talked about how that Ole Miss Georgia game could get ugly. I could see this game getting ugly as well. I like Ohio State in this game, and I like not only them, but I think they'll cover in this game.
First in total yards against, first in passing defense, fifth in rushing, first in points. This Ohio State defense is too much to handle. I'm taking Ohio State to cover the number, and I'm betting it under. I'm doing both.
All right. Those will get going again. The Cotton Bowl tomorrow night. That's your New Year's Eve appetizer for whatever hijinks and tomfoolery you're going to take place in. That is a 7:30 Eastern time kick. What do you got in the middle of that?
Do you guys have a New Year's thing that you do, a tradition? I mean, I'm just saying because we do, and it's the food that my wife prefers is great on New Year's Eve. I'm just wondering if you guys had one of those.
I'm not a big New Year's guy. I don't believe in amateur hour. I don't like being out of the house, especially with the way I've been feeling. I will be horizontal, not vertical for New Year's, and we will have the windows shut here because it's fireworks bonanza out in my neck of the woods, and the dogs don't handle that one. We've already started drugging the dog for people who've started tonight in our area, so I don't. T, what about you?
No, I'm the same. We're going to be home and just making sure the dogs stay out of trouble. No special food or anything. Just a couple of beverages and television.
But we are staying home. We're not going out. But my wife prepares an amazing feast, seafood and surf and turf. We have prime rib. We've got crab legs. We've got lobster. We got shrimp. Just amazing. I can't wait.
All right,
I'm not going to. I'm not even going to eat until then. Maybe I will a little bit.
Yeah, we'll be there. We'll be there tomorrow. Just tell us what time dinner time is. I might actually have TJ pick me up so I can be vertical just for that.
The rate of return on crab legs, though, can we talk about the rate of return on those? Because that has one of the worst return on investments from a food standpoint of any food that I've ever had. That and artichoke hearts are pretty much at the lowest level of return on investment.
Yeah, I can agree with you there. I mean, I think sister-in-law is coming over, and we're gonna keep it chill. I might not leave the studio / office area here one bit whatsoever. But it's kind of funny that you brought up that stuff, Mac, because 10 minutes from now we'll get into the NFL, but bowl season is hot and heavy right now, and we were talking about this, and we were going to do this, and it's been a lot of the chatter anyways. So we decided that we wanted to come up with some bowl games that should be bowl games that aren't. And this is Mike Howell 80 on X. Idea to improve bowl season. Each bowl has its own rule. For example, one, you can't punt. One, no field goals. I know TJ loves his last part of his suggestion here. CFL motion rules. What do you think? So it made us think about bowl games that are not bowl games that should be bowl games, and of course a show for the people, by the people, and about the people. And if you have any suggestions for bowl games that should be a thing, feel free to pipe them in the comments and we'll get your suggestions up on the air. But we decided to take some time and come up with some bowl games that aren't bowl games that should be a bowl game, and I will take My first one here from a guy that you know well, especially from Valley parts. He's a radio legend. Our guy Bruce Jacobs posted this the other day on Facebook, and I started laughing because I knew we were going to talk about this. If you saw the Boca Raton Bowl, Louisville got to celebrate by eating baked beans out of the trophy. Bruce goes on to say, I love me some baked beans, but not this way. I would hold out, boys, until they have the ribeye lobster tail or hot pastrami bowl, not beans or mayo bowls. So I would like to see a surf and turf bowl. I think if you can see right over my big dumb head right there, that football is branded by Bucky's or Boosie's, as a lot of people are saying it. We're finally getting one here in Arizona. I'd love to see the Bucky's Beaver Bowl just because I'm a child and that's really funny to me. So Vegas Mac, actually, we're going to go to you last because not only did Vegas Mac understand the assignment here, T, I think he went tenfold over. I think there's a lot of ways we could go with what Vegas Mac came up to see. I'd like to see a surf and turf bowl and the Bucky's Beaver Bowl just for the sake of the name and a giant beaver trophy. You can put your own innuendos there anywhere you want to. T, if there was a bowl or a couple of bowls that you would drop out, what would they be?
Well, I think sometimes, guys have this entire 2 weeks of bowl season, and sometimes our lady friends feel a little bit left out. So I'd like to see the Chip and Joanna Gaines Magnolia Bowl from beautiful Waco, Texas, where the winning team gets a locker room makeover. I think that would be a huge, huge way to get some more eyes on the bowl season. They can go pick out all their freaking screen door apparatuses and turn them into whatever they want to turn them into. But, the ladies can have fun with that one too. But yeah, that would be kind of fun. But I started thinking about too, like, what are some cities that you would think deserve bowl games that don't have bowl games? Like Seattle should have a bowl game.
Absolutely.
Chicago should have a bowl game. And if you're going to start the season over there now, because for some reason, then put a bowl game in London or Ireland or the UK or wherever. Let's put a bowl game over there. Because remember what bowl games were. Bowl games were started way, way, way back, probably before any of us were born, except for maybe Mac. They were started as a way to get tourists to come to cities in the wintertime. That's why bowl games were started. And so let's kind of go back to that and let's send people or give people the opportunity to go to places for the holidays that they may not have been to before. And I don't know. I'm a big fan of. I think we're missing the boat with Seattle the most, though. I think that one is the city that's at the top of my list.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic to see a bowl. 5 minutes from now, we'll be into week 17 of the NFL. Lay the table for week 18, but oh man, I don't know if my ribs, my lungs, my illness are ready for this. Vegas Mac, not only did he understand the assignment, he went for full extra credit. He's that kid. He's the kid in class before you get out for like your Christmas break that goes, see you next year. And he went way above and beyond. Why don't you give me your first of your two bowl creations in the crazy mind and rock tumbler that is Vegas Mac?
We're going to start with the Taco Bell 4th Meal Bowl. Now, where would this be played? Of course, in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Kickoff time, 12:37 a.m. And it would be called the latest show on turf. How do we start the game? Well, a coin flip, but not just any coin flip, I tell you. It'd be the Crunch Wrap coin flip. Actually, flip a Crunch Wrap and see what happens. Free chalupas to every person every time there's an instant review fail. And the winner, of course, gets the Golden Bell Chalice. It is a 3-foot tall goblet filled with Baja Blast.
Jesus, 3-foot tall goblet filled with diabetes. And if you've never been to Albuquerque, nighttime is not the right time at Albuquerque, so there's all kinds of things wrong with this, but there's a lot of things right with it. Would the Crunch Wrap actually stay intact flipping it? Because the last couple of Crunch Wraps I've gotten did not stay intact from removing from the bag. Where do you come up with this shit? Like, your mind is an interesting place. It's dangerous.
This is what happens when I have time off.
Yeah, well, no, what happens when you have time off is your second bowl suggestion.
All right. The second bowl would be the Show Me the Money NIL Bowl. Only place you can play this would be Las Vegas. Sponsored by Venmo. That's because that's how the players are going to get paid. That's where we're going to start. Now, the coin toss by OnlyFans. The captains are going to do a little collab video together after they do that. The coaches challenges, they're all going to be sponsored by LegalZoom because we don't really know if any of these contracts are actually binding. And the Fans' Choice MVP, that's going to be posted live on TikTok. They're going to have a vote, find out who the MVP is. Now, wait, here's the best part. The winning team gets the trophy that is the solid gold bag / duffel bag. It's a duffel bag filled with $100 bills and a QR code that is linked to cryptocurrency that no longer exists. But now, wait, they've actually played this bowl before, and that was last year. It was a 0-0 tie at halftime, and everyone opted out.
We might have needed to save that for the end of the show. I'm not really sure how we go forward after that.
I hate it here.
Let's talk about something more bull related. Actual bull related. LegalZoom, OnlyFans, Venmo, and fake cryptocurrency all worked into the same bowl. It basically describes what college football actually is right now, if you think about it.
Exactly.
12 Days of Bowlsmas, an update for everybody because we haven't been on. We've been absolutely killing this thing here. The picks in green up there are the picks that we actually went with, and you can see we lost a couple of those. But as we sit right here today, T, we're at 8-3. In our 12 days of Bowlsmas with only 2 games left to go. One of those is happening right now, and we're not in good shape on the USC TCU game. It's 3-0 at the end of the first quarter. So we need a lot more points. We need 55 points in the final 3. And obviously tomorrow we're going with Iowa plus 5.5. But T, I said our goal was to go 9-3. The catch was there's 13 of them. We're 8-3 right now. Right now, we don't look like we're in great shape in the TCU USC game, but a lot of football left to be played. I'm kind of proud of us here. I mean, it ended up working out okay.
This is a fantastic list. I'm not going to try not to hurt myself, patting myself on the back, but this is I would have to say, a clinic in picking games over the last 2 weeks, a straight up clinic.
Yeah. And I did double down. I know I've showed you, but we were talking about where we're going to roll it, blah, blah, blah. We'll have stats on this on next Thursday's show to see how we went about playing it. I've rolled some of it, didn't roll all of it, played the last 5 straight up, and right now I have another reason to not like Lincoln Riley, which pisses me off. But we'll keep an eye on that as we go forward. Strange
stuff happens in that San Antonio Bowl game for some reason. It just when you think that a team is out or an over total is not going to happen, all of a sudden it can happen. So I have all the faith in the world in this pick. We don't need no old school overtime rules for this one.
Yeah, no, not at all. Let's just hope we get the normal wacky in San Antonio there. All right, guys, the NFL hot and heavy as we enter week number 17. Or we finished week 17. We get ready to enter week 18, but we're going to look back at what happened, what set the table for us here. And it got started for us on Christmas, and that was with the Broncos and the Chiefs. And, Denver didn't play great. I think this is a thing that a lot of us have said about Denver, Mac, is do we really trust them? Who do we trust more? We had that conversation last week, Denver or New England. Denver gets the win on the road in Kansas City, but they struggled to do it. They get the win 20-13. We'll talk about what happened after that. What did you think of the Broncos against the Chiefs? Did we learn anything more? Do we have more concerns over the Broncos, Mac, than T? Unmute your mic.
Darn it. I was trying to get through the whole show. 13 of the 17 games that the Broncos have played this year have been one-score games. So the fact that this was a close game doesn't surprise me. My only thing about the Broncos is this. You've played with fire all year long. Does that finally catch up with you come playoff time by playing these close games?
Yeah, T, I know it was a game that obviously you have well put hatred for. What did you make of that game in Kansas City?
You know what? It was kind of what I was expecting. I expected to be kind of a dog's breakfast. I thought the Chiefs were going to give an inspired effort because of the uncertainty around some of their players on their rosters. So I thought that they were going to give it a heck of an effort, and I thought they did. There's just the quarterback position was just such a disparity in talent there, but I thought the Chiefs gave it a good run. But I wasn't surprised at the outcome.
Yeah, and the other game of any pertinent note, if you will, on Christmas, the Lions continued and finished digging their own grave and losing to the Vikings 23-10, 6 turnovers. We saw what happened out of that. It will be a postseason without Motor City Dan Campbell. We go to the other part of the NFC West, the Texans and Chargers, and right from the gate, guys, Houston said, we're going up top and we're going deep and you can't do a damn thing about it. That defense kind of let up a little bit. They let the Chargers back into the game where they had a chance, but we've talked about this with the Chargers, and as much as I gave them credit last week for handling what they've handled on their offensive line, it was wrong place, wrong time for LA, and they get beat on their home field by the Texans, who continue to roll. And offensively, the Texans looked really good, and that set up kind of an interesting situation. But I was very, very impressed with the Texans right out of the gate. Said, hey, we're for real whether you believe it or not, Mac, and they get a big win in LA.
Let me know if this is too outrageous or not. But can we, as things stand right now, can we call the Houston Texans the best team in the AFC?
Good debate. I mean, debate. I don't know if I could give you one that for sure is a better team, Mac. I think that's a great question.
I mean, they're just a solid. I mean, nobody's going to want to play this team from a defensive standpoint, and their offense hasn't been great this year, but you can start to see they're starting to build on that a little bit. It's one of those things. I think, you've seen this with teams. Sometimes you play, their defense has been so good, the offense is like, hey, we got to kind of do our part. And again, I don't think their offense has to be great. I just think they have to be good. Don't turn the ball over. Just do the things that they need to do. I don't know that I'd want to play the Texans come playoff time.
Well, I mean, we saw it on Saturday. They got up early, and then they just kind of let the defense take over and didn't really get a whole hell of a lot of offense in the second half. And the defense did just enough to win them the ball game. So I'm looking at this from the other side. I thought the Chargers looked flat. I don't think that's a good look for them going into the postseason, because we've seen what's happened with this Chargers team in the postseason, and specifically the Surfer Boy chapter of this organization, which has had postseason flops. And I don't think that this inspired confidence in any Charger fan, this game against the Texans.
Yeah, and it's just an absolute field day from Hunter and the entire defense there for Houston. And I know there's a lot of people, I know very much one person in particular that follows the show, our guy Billy V. I mean, he's been all over this Texans team for a while. He has them to win the AFC and to advance to the Super Bowl here. And I think, as Mac, as you brought up, like, does Houston look like the team you have the most confidence in the AFC right now? And I think it's hard to argue that. I think the AFC, to me, looks a lot more wide open than the NFC does, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts of that. The other game, speaking of AFC, NFC, on Saturday night was a game that a lot of us thought, and I'm going to start with you here, T, because we took some shrapnel. Wait till you see the end of a game and talk shit, people, on social media that, Derrick Henry had more touchdowns than Josh Jacobs had rushing yards. This Packers team kind of laid an egg and got steamrolled by overrated Derrick Henry, washed up Derrick Henry. I know you have something to say about it. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I was flat out wrong. I was flat out wrong. I was very impressed with Baltimore and how they came out. I didn't know what to expect with Tyler Huntley, because, in the past he's been kind of like not so great at times and flashes of brilliance followed up by bonehead plays. He did exactly what he had to do. And the most important thing was getting the ball to washed up Derrick Henry. I mean, the guy looked great. And I mentioned it on Saturday. It's been a very Derrick Henry like season, because all I can remember is the times he's turned the ball over. And this game kind of put that all aside. I mean, he looked like he was dominant, and I thought the Packers gave up on their game plan. I really, maybe Josh Jacobs wasn't part of their game plan, but I was hella wrong on that one. I admit it.
And for context here, people that might be tuning in for the first time, not a single person on this show has ever called Derrick Henry washed up. It's a clap back at all the people that said when he signed with the Ravens he was washed up. Mac, I know you're never fond of the Ravens, but very impressive performance by them on Saturday night.
I just don't understand the Ravens, because for so many games you go back and look, like they go without Derrick Henry for long stretches. For like 2 weeks ago when he just sat out the last quarter. Like, I don't understand. They to me, this seems real. They don't use him the right way. That dude should be getting the ball 34, 35, 38, 40 times a game. That's what he's there for. I think you'll see that this week. I mean, I'll be shocked if he doesn't, unless the game is a blowout one way or another. But if this is a close game, he should have the ball 36, 37, 38 times.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's interesting because I meant to save the screenshot of it, but obviously the talk in the post game from all the Ravens were that they were rooting for the Browns, which is something that's rare in that division. And they end up getting the help from the Browns that they needed, because the Pittsburgh Steelers, much to Mac's enjoyment, I'm sure, decided to not show up at Huntington Bank Field. For those of you that don't know what that is, that's the dog pound, 13-6 Shedeur Sanders. And the Browns knock off the Steelers, which has set us up for Sunday Night Football. Win or go home. Ravens, Steelers. What is your confidence level without a pick on that game, based on what you saw from your Steelers, Mac, on Sunday?
I know you always get on me about how I feel about the Steelers, but we've gone 17 weeks now. Can you tell me what Steeler team is going to show up? Is it going to be the team that can't score but plays great defense? Or is it going to be the team that can kind of score and play no defense?
I know who's not showing up on Sunday.
Who?
DK Metcalf's not showing up.
Yeah,
that story, man.
Yeah,
but you're bang on, Mac. This team has been so inconsistent that you're right. Like, who's going to show up? The team that played Detroit and got a huge win on the road, or the team that freaking blew all sorts of ass last week? Like, they were terrible.
And it's been like this all year. I mean, you look at the schedule, it's the offense plays well, the defense doesn't show up, and vice versa. So I really don't know. I don't know. I mean, Watt may be back. They didn't really need him last week. I mean, they shut down a Browns team that's not really good offensively. I don't know what to expect. It just, there's so much uncertainty in this team right now.
Yeah, and it's set up an interesting scenario. And before we get to the rest of the games, this is the best tweet I saw this weekend, and I know you guys are going to appreciate this one because I think Brandon Carney nailed this one. I like how the Week 18 game we had last year to determine the division champion was a showdown between two 14-win teams, the Lions and Vikings, and this year we have Steelers, Ravens, Panthers, Bucks, which is the equivalent of two homeless guys fighting over a piece of cheese. Mm-hmm. Wait till I tell you how crazy the Panthers-Bucks thing is, because the NFC South continues to not cease to amaze us one bit whatsoever. Speaking of the Panthers, they had a perfect opportunity this weekend against the Seahawks. And again, we've talked about this with the Seahawks guys multiple times this year. especially as of late, the Seahawks offense not showing up until the second half of a game. And this was another game right up that line, 3-3 at halftime. And so that makes, 6 or 7 of the last 9 games, the Seahawks have failed to get to 10 points by halftime. They ended up blowing the doors off of them in the second half here. But this Carolina team is tough because they like to muck the game up and they like to make it muddy and they like to make it ugly. And the Seahawks played right into that hand. Bryce Young, second half, not his greatest performance, and the Seahawks end up getting the win, keeping themselves in the number 1 seed here. And it set up a really shit scenario, if you will, for lack of a better adjective to describe it as far as the South goes. I want to ask you guys first on your thoughts on the Seahawks from this game, and then we'll get, for those that haven't heard it, the absolute dream crap scenario that can only be done by NFC South teams for this weekend. Mac, what'd you think of the Seahawks on Sunday?
To me, Seattle is just one of these teams that I feel like it doesn't matter the game, they're in it. I feel as though they can go and they can just, at a moment's notice, they can blow you out. But then again, I feel like they can grind a game out and win it as well. So, I mean, I think they're deserving right now of a number 1 seed. I like the way that they can play kind of both those kind of games.
They had more rushing yards than Carolina had total yards. They completely grinded that game out. I loved every second of it. Zach Charbonnet looked fantastic, and they did what they had to do. It was 3-3 at half, yes, but in the second half, they did exactly what they needed to do. They put the game away, and sets up a big game this weekend.
Yeah, and it sets up the ultimate chaos scenario in the NFC South as Tampa Bay goes and lays a gigantic dump against the Dolphins. And now it's put us in a position, and this is, again, and I made this comment on Twitter this weekend, guys, the most NFC South thing of NFC South things that could possibly happen. Saturday night, we get Panthers and Bucks from Tampa. Carolina wins, they win the division. Carolina loses, oh, just wait a second. They don't necessarily lose the South because now the Falcons and Saints. And tell me this isn't the perfect dichotomy of the Falcons-Saints rivalry here. The Falcons and Saints, if Tampa wins on Saturday night. And again, we'll get into these predictions on Friday. But if Tampa were to win on Saturday night, the Falcons and Saints will play each other for the NFC South title that neither one of them can win. Is that not the most NFC South title thing you've ever heard in your life, Mac?
Absolutely. I mean, must-see TV. I mean, I guess the NFL did it right. I mean, maybe we're the ones who should be, not laughing at them. I mean, who would have thought that we're going to have to watch that game possibly to determine a division champion? I mean, hats off to the NFL. It's absolutely genius.
Tampa Bay did this to themselves. They have effed off enough, for lack of a better term, and have gone 2-8 in the last 10, and they have effed around and found out. And if they don't, I don't even think winning the division, that might not be enough to save Todd Bowles' job at this point. I think he might come back after this week, and his key card's not going to work regardless.
Yeah, and go ahead, Mac.
I was just going to say, as much as we liked Tampa Bay at the beginning of the year, that has become an absolute just dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you've seen the shots by now, Bucky Irving losing his ever-loving you-know-what on the sideline at the offensive line. They're fighting with each other on the sidelines. Uh-huh. This is a team that, and I hate to use this term. I hate it. I hate when people in our space use this term, but and maybe it's just because I've been sick as hell for the last 3 weeks. This Tampa team looks like they've completely quit. Like they're done. And for those of you that are unsure of the scenario I laid out, if Tampa Bay beats Carolina, when you get into tiebreakers and common opponents in division and all that stuff, and there's a million people that think they're right now, be very careful where you look and find your information. Carolina could lose the game Saturday night and could win the division based on an Atlanta win over New Orleans on Sunday. That's the scenario. Again, we'll get more into these scenarios on Friday's program when we break down the games that matter this weekend. Eagles and Bills was an interesting one. It was a kind of a goofy game. A lot of people critiquing Sean McDermott's opportunity at the end of the game to tie the game or to go for two. The Eagles get a 13-12 win in a rainy, sloppy disaster of a game that the Bills were not in until the very end. They go for two, wide open in the end zone. Josh Allen tugs the throw. You know by now, you've watched enough football. You're rolling left. You've got a guy. You tend to throw it left, and that's exactly what happens. I don't have a problem with Sean McDermott going for two in that situation because there really wasn't a whole lot for Buffalo to lose necessarily in that situation, knowing that they were in that position because they had already missed an extra point. Mac T, we've had this conversation. I'll start in the middle plenty of times. When you go for two, when you don't, I don't have a problem with it, but that Buffalo performance at home in a game that would have really done a lot for a lot of people in what they think of Buffalo going forward. It was a knob job.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things that come to my mind in watching this game. Number one, Philly still hasn't figured out what to do on an offensive standpoint, and I think that's going to be a problem for them in the coming weeks. And here's the thing, how I feel. Do you guys feel the same way? Do you feel like it's all on Josh Allen again? Like, do you feel like it's just like, haven't we done this already? Like, I know we say it every season, and we haven't really said it too much this year, but we say it every off season, but it just to me feels like it's either Josh Allen's going to win it or he's going to lose it, and I feel like he has no help.
I don't think you're wrong, T. What do you think?
Okay, so I didn't have a problem with after I was educated about the situation, because that was a game that I missed most of the game. So after I was educated about the situation, I agree with the decision to go for two, and Josh Allen totally just botched the throw. That being said, this team has to play better. And we talked at the very beginning, we all said that Buffalo has a clear shot to run the table here, and they have not done it. And I think this goes back to the ceiling of this team with the guy in charge running it. Like, how many times are you going to load up the gun with the same guy and get the same result here? If Buffalo doesn't advance to the Super Bowl, I think they have to seriously look at some changes to the coaching staff, because this might be the ceiling. It just might be. And if it is, that's fine. You better find someone to put you over the top, because Josh Allen's 29 years old. In the way that he plays, he's probably got 4 or 5 really good years left in him.
Well, and here's my thing with Buffalo. And a tweet I saw a couple weeks ago from Warren Sharp kind of reminded me of this, and it is true, and it goes exactly with what you're saying. First of all, how do you not have a legit number one receiver for Josh Allen? I don't care what you have to sacrifice at other positions. Get this guy somebody that can catch the damn ball and make plays down the field. And they had guys, Brandon Cooks, I mean, they made plays down the field in this game. But how in the hell do you not have a legit number one wide receiver for Josh Allen? It is absolutely friggin' maddening that the best quarterback in football doesn't have a go-to wide receiver. Number two, if you want to point the finger squarely at Sean McDermott to kind of echo your sentiment, and this comes from Warren's tweet here, and he writes, a harsh and truthful look at Sean McDermott. Josh Allen is the number one best playoff quarterback since 2020. Even in losses, Allen is the number one best quarterback statistically. But McDermott's defenses in playoff losses have averaged allowing 33 points per game. Josh Allen this year is 3-0 when his defense gives up 32 or more this year. The rest of the league is 661-2. Get this guy a number one wide receiver. And again, we have that conversation, guys, all the time. Well, who are you going to replace him with? Well, I don't care at this point. If they don't get the job done here, his golden opportunity, the wide open door for Josh Allen, and he might have to do it now as the 7 seed in the AFC. And this game that we're going to see this weekend, this is, by the way, Countdown did a hell of a job breaking down memories of Highmark Stadium, the Ralph, this weekend. If you didn't see it, see if you can go back and see it. It was incredible. But now we're talking about this weekend in one of the best venues in all of sports when they pound the Jets this weekend. That's the last game we're ever going to see in that stadium. And I have no faith in Sean McDermott, the coach, in the postseason.
Nope.
Isn't it kind of funny that McDermott and Tomlin were college roommates together? They both are defensive coaches. They both have quarterbacks that don't have number one receiver. I mean, you start to look at the parallels between those two teams and the two coaches. They're kind of the same thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, Tomlin has a number one wide receiver if they can, like, get this jackass in Detroit who had a complaint levied on him last year when DK Metcalf was a Seahawk against the same damn fan. But what you're saying is the comparisons between the two of them in the situation are ironic. And the real ironic thing is they could end up playing each other in the first round of the playoffs. And one of these guys is not going to enjoy losing that game because, you know, there was another tweet I wanted to get to, and I know we're running out of time here, but it was a perfect, like, microcosm. And Mac, this is something that you've said a bunch of times. Alex Stumpf, here it is on X. Week 18 is the ultimate Tomlin game. The Steelers either complete an unfathomable collapse, but still somehow go 9-8, or they accidentally win and get obliterated in the wild card round by Buffalo. In the end, there isn't much of a difference because the standard was technically met. That sums it up. And I think it sums it up for both teams. And the irony that the two of them could be playing each other in the first round of the playoffs is hilarious to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, I think we've said it. I mean, you've got to have a higher ceiling. Right now, the ceiling is too low.
Yeah, and again, we'll get more into these games on Friday. T, I'll give you the final word here before we get to the last two. 5 minutes from now, our sports New Year's resolutions, and we'll get up on out of here.
I need to see. I just keep waiting for this Bills team to take off, and I'm just the more this season goes on, the more I'm convinced that we're going to be, those of us who picked Buffalo to go to the Super Bowl are going to be disappointed again.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Sunday Night Football. We saw history on Sunday Night Football. The first time ever a regular season game has been tied at 7, 14, 21, 28, and 35. An epic battle on Sunday night. A shootout between the Niners and Bears. The Niners end up getting the victory 42-38 over Chicago, putting them in line for the showdown on Saturday night against the Seahawks, which is always a contentious one in this house between wifey and I. Seahawks, Niners, set the table for what's going to be an incredible game. I think if we had questions of the Bears, they weren't answered and they weren't changed. I don't think our opinion on either one of these teams changed on Sunday night's game. The Niners made the play at the end that they had to. Their defense made the play at the end that they had to. A lot of people talking about the Niners dropping 9 in coverage on that final play of the game and giving Robert Saleh credit for it. It was actually not Robert Saleh's call. D. Winters and Tatum Bethune were supposed to blitz on the play. They decided to drop back, and according to what D. Winters said, they wanted to see make Caleb Williams see ghosts. Whether he saw ghosts or not, he didn't see DJ Moore, who was wide ass open on the other side of the field in the back of the end zone. But guys, that was, whether you're a fan of either team or not, an incredible game. I think we all know that neither one of these teams is going to be able to win on the heels of their defense. I think you would trust the Niners defense to make the plays a little bit more than the Bears. But this was a wild game and very entertaining on Sunday night, Mac.
Yeah, good game. Poor clock management, timeout management, if you want to call it, by the Bears down on the last drive. I think. I mean, and as a coach, that's something you learn. You've been an OC before, that's fine, but head coach still got to call the timeouts. So I think that was part of it. I mean, I would still be worried if I'm San Francisco from a defensive standpoint. I mean, we know that they can put numbers up there, but I mean, I still think they need to be a little bit better defensively to move, to get back to the Super Bowl.
If that offense is going to throw up 42 points a game, I don't care who's playing on defense. We can roll out Keena Turner, Ronnie Lott, and all those.
Did you say Tina Turner?
Keena Turner.
Easy.
Oh, I thought you said
watch
Tina.
your mouth there in the middle.
Hacksaw, Jim Duggan. I don't even care who goes out there. That offense it looks like Brock is back. Like, this was the game for me that convinced me that he is now back and over everything, that all his maladies. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because after that game, everybody's like, "Oh, well, Brock Purdy plays like this, the Niners can win the Super Bowl." All of a sudden, Brock Purdy's getting flowers. All of a sudden, where have you been? Why are you not watching the show? Like, you can call me a homer or not, that's fine. Brock Purdy's a good quarterback, and when we can get what's wrong with your perception of him based on where he was drafted out of the window here and look at the guy on the field, since week 15, he's damn near been first in every single passing category. Is it concerning? Can they win games? Can they outscore the Rams, if you will? That was some narrative that I saw tossed out this week. Like, well, they can't outscore everybody. That team has already beaten the Rams. They've already beaten the Seahawks once. Now it comes into this weekend, which I think is going to be a fascinating game because our questions with the Niners is, can their defense make a stop? The questions with the Seahawks is, can Sam Darnold not turn into a Sara Lee factory in that game? Why it gets even more interesting is what we saw last night with the Rams and not getting the job done against the Falcons on Monday Night Football. T, I'm going to let you start on your thoughts of Monday Night Football last night.
I'm sitting there pre-gaming for the Golden Knights game, and I'm watching the Rams just implode, and I could not stop laughing. I seriously could not stop laughing because this was the team that people 2 weeks ago were sending to the Super Bowl. And I'm like, bro, if they're going to play like that, they're going to have to buy tickets to go to the Super Bowl because they're not going to get past the first round. They looked awful. And you can say what you want about the second half comeback, but why are you in that position? That pick six was horrible by Stafford. Absolutely horrible. So hopefully for the Rams, they got that all out of their system and they can focus on trouncing Arizona this week and then getting ready for their first round playoff game. But I thought they looked like crap. And I thought I thought Bijan, holy smokes, that touchdown run was, I like, man, Rams look terrible.
Mac, what'd you think of last night's game?
I think if Atlanta can figure a way to play every single game in prime time, I think they could go undefeated and win the Super Bowl. I mean, I do. I mean, when the lights are the brightest, they play the best. I still think the Rams are a pretty complete team, even though they didn't play well. I still like the Rams' chances in the playoffs. But I've got to say that I think the best touchdown I've seen all year, and probably one of the best football plays, was that block punt. I mean, the block field goal. Reverse. He blocks it. The ball bounces up to him. He gets it. He's running down the sidelines, and he flips him the peace sign as he's running. I mean, that is absolutely great. That was one of the best touchdowns I've seen. I mean, whole thing. He did everything. He got through the block. He got the block. He scooped it up and then ran it in. That absolute. I think that's got to be in the top 5 touchdowns all year.
Yeah, and it was interesting because the irony in that is the Achilles heel for the Rams, if you will, has been their special teams all year, and their special teams kept them in that game late. And I've got a fundamental problem, dude, and I don't remember. I think Adrian Peterson said this today, and I thought it was so spot on by him. At the end of that game, you have an opportunity to get Bijan 5 more yards and get him to 200 on the ground, and you don't take that chance. Like, that's one of those things that you should do as an organization for hands down your best damn player. I think a new regime is probably highly likely in Atlanta. We'll get into some of that stuff later, but I thought that was kind of a chicken shit move by the Falcons not to give them at least a chance to hit that 200-yard mark. That is a mark that is very hard to get.
It is. And one last thing about that block. Did you hear the stat when their last block kick was to return for a touchdown? The
No.
Rams, their last one, because they said it because they were joking because they asked Troy Aikman, where were you when this happened? It was in 1986.
Jesus.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, he was at UCLA. That was kind of funny.
I was 5 years old.
It's crazy.
We're going to get into on Friday's show specifically the games that mattered this weekend in the NFL. If you're looking for the general consensus of this, a lot of people talking like they know right now, and I don't have this guy's name up in front of me, of course, but the scenarios. When you're looking at the NFC, Seattle, San Francisco, that's your number one seed, one of those two teams. Your 2 or your 3 is either Chicago or Philadelphia. Your 3 is the opposite of that. The winner, I guess you can call it that, of the NFC South is your 4. Green Bay is locked into the 7th. So Niners, Rams, Seahawks, Bears, and Eagles, all kinds of the differentiating things that can happen. We will get into those on Friday's show. But a crazy weekend. We're set up for another crazy weekend. College football quarterfinals starting tomorrow night. Guys, it's our last show of 2025. Let's get into this as we get out of here. Some sports New Year's resolutions, if we will. Whether it's your team, something you want to see in sports. My number one is no more parlays. Just kidding. Well, not really. Parlays that we do on the show, because we still have not hit the 3-way parlay. We're at about 66% a lot of the time, but we can't. Mm-hmm. But I've learned a lot, I think, from a personal journey standpoint here in the value of, in talking to Bill Krakenberger, who's come on the show and will be on with us, I'm sure, in not the near future, and our guy Jared Smith and some of the other guys we follow from a betting standpoint, just, continuing to evolve as a better, other than our little fun $5 parlays, which I have no problem with. My second one, and this is a pipe dream, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but as a Bay Area sports fan, I would love to see Joe Lacob, the owner of the Warriors, finally get his opportunity to buy the San Francisco Giants and bring them back to a point of relevance, because I think we've seen in this offseason here with lack of movement by the Giants. It was funny, Mac, you did your video that we posted about the Boston Cardinals, and the first comment we got on that video was, hey, at least they're doing something unlike the Giants. I want to see Joe Lacob finally get a chance legitimately and make it happen to buy the Giants, because I think the Giants would get back to consistent prominence, and I hate the fact that their current ownership group is still tying Buster Posey's frigging hands right now. So if I've got 2 sports resolutions for that year, a little bit of personal development in the parlay situation, and then Joe Lacob. Just make it happen. Joe Lacob should be the owner of the Giants. That'd be great, especially if you think about it, because the Chase Center, Oracle Park, AT&T, Pac Bell, whatever the hell the name's going to be tomorrow, right down the street from each other. Everybody likes developing land. I see golden opportunities for both teams. Those are the 2 things that I want to see happen in the sports year. T, what do you want to see happen in the sports year of 2026?
I'd like to see a 3-2-1 point system in the NHL. I think that would be huge. I think that would, I think that parity that we see, I think it would define the teams a little bit more. Teams should not be penalized for winning in regulation, and the 2-point system penalizes teams for winning in regulation. So I'd like to see it go to the 3-2-1, and we need anybody to rein in this nonsense that is college football, because it is a CF of epic proportions that needs. And it's like all these people keep doing things to it and nobody wants to take responsibility. Like, we just lost the Notre Dame USC rivalry after 99 years and nobody gives a shit. Like, nobody cares. There's something fundamentally wrong with that. So somebody needs to be in charge.
And of course, as always, in the final spot, number 1 in your programs and in your hearts, Vegas Mac and his chalice of Baja Blast. What are your
That's right.
What are your things you want to see in the new year in sports?
I went one of my personal teams, the Steelers. I said, when can the Steelers get it right? I feel like Bill Murray. I feel like it's that Groundhog's Day. I feel like every season is exactly the same. Oh wait, it is exactly the same every single year. The Steelers are going to have the draft this year. Is that going to make a difference? I mean, I don't really know, but I mean, after a while, I mean, it does. It's the same season year after year after year. It's got to change. That's the first thing. And then number two, can we figure golf out? I mean, can we just admit that the live experiment was just that, an experiment?
Mhm.
And listen, experiments are great. The great thing about experiments is sometimes you learn a lot from failure. And I think we learned a lot from this, but can we just get all these guys on the same course, please?
I think it's fair. I think it's absolutely fair. And I think with the new direction of the PGA Tour, we're probably closer to getting back there than we were. T, any final thoughts before we get up on out of here? And I say something that I swore I would never say, but I've been sick for the better part of the last 3 weeks, and the only way I can sign us off tonight is by the dumbest damn thing you've heard from your coworkers all week. Any final thoughts from you?
Happy New Year, everybody. Be safe.
Don't JPP yourself. Vegas Mac.
Yeah, listen, I know we didn't have a chance, but real quick, I got a great Ticket Tuesday deal for us, Mike. Listen, on Saturday, a basketball doubleheader. Here we go. Listen, we can do this. Down in Phoenix, we could watch Colorado at ASU for $7. That game's at 3:00. Then just drive on up and watch Colorado State at GCU also for $9. I think a basketball doubleheader would be a great way to start 2026.
That's less than $20 to see 2 college basketball games. That might be your best. Look at you dropping the best value of the season at the end. T's got something. T's got something in the tumbler. I can see it already.
No, that Colorado State Grand Canyon game is conference game now.
Yeah,
That is.
So-
If you ever get a chance, by the way, to go see a Grand Canyon basketball home game, you got to do it. It's
absolutely.
incredible. All right, for everybody behind the scenes, for all of you that always tune in and watch with us, we are so close to getting to a milestone mark on YouTube for our followers. Help us get over that hump. Please be safe for the new year. It is amateur hour. Whatever you do, don't JPP yourself. For everybody behind the scenes, for my 2 friends, co-hosts, fellow jackasses, because that's how we like to do things here for Vegas Mac and TJ. We will be here Friday, lunchtime live. And as much as I don't want to, I will say this. We will see you next year. We're out.